Wanderer of the Wasteland, Chapter 10, Part 3. One morning, huge columnar clouds, white as fleece, with dark gray shades along their lower borders, blotted out the sun. How strangely they shaded the highlights. Usually when clouds formed on the desert, they lodged around the peaks and hung there. But these were looming across the wasteland, promising rain. A fresh breeze blew the leaves. Adam was making his weary round of the oasis, dragging one foot like a dead weight after the other. Once he thought he heard an unusual sound, and with lips wide and with bated breath he listened. Only the mocking, solemn silence. Often he was haunted by the memory of sounds. Seldom indeed did he hear his own voice anymore. Then he plodded on again with the ease of a ferret roving everywhere. He'd proceeded a few rods when a distant but shrill whistle brought him to a startled and thrilling halt. It sounded like the neigh of a horse. Often he'd heard the brays of wild burros. In the intense silence as he strained his ears, he heard only the labored, muffled throbs of his heart. Gradually his hopes, so new and strange, subsided. Only another mockery of his memory. Or perhaps it was a whistle of the wind in a crevice, or of an eagle in flight. Parting the willows before him as he walked, he went through the thicket out into the open where the stream flowed. It was very low, just a tiny rill of crystal clear water. He was about to step forward toward the flat rock where he always knelt to drink when another sound checked him. A loud, high buzz. Somehow startling, it had life. Suddenly he espied a huge rattlesnake coiled in the sand, with its head erect and its rattles quivering like the wings of a poised hummingbird. The snake had just shed an ugly brown scaly skin and now shone forth, resplendent, a beautiful clean gray with markings of black. It showed no fear. The flat triangular head, sleek and cunning with its deadly jewel-like eyes, was raised half a foot above the plump coils. Adam's weary, hopeless hunting instincts sustained a vivifying, galvanizing shock. Like a flash, he changed. Beginning to tremble, he dropped his sling as an ineffective weapon against so large a snake. His staring eyes quivered like the vibrating point of a compass needle as he tried to keep them on the snake and at the same time sight a stone or club with which to attack his quarry. A bursting gush of blood, hot in its tearing pains, flooded out all over his skin, starting the sweat. His heart lifted high in his breast, almost choking him. A terrible excitement animated him, and it was paralleled by a cold and sickening dread that the snake would escape and pounds of meat be lost to him. Never taking his eyes off the snake, Adam stooped down to raise a large rock in his hand. He poised it aloft and, aiming with intense keenness, he flung the missile. It struck the rattlesnake a glancing blow, tearing its flesh and bringing blood. With the buzz of a huge bee caught in a trap, the snake lunged at Adam, stretching its mutilated length on the sand. It was long, thick, fat. Adam smelled the exuding blood, and it inflamed him. Almost he became a beast. The savage urge in him then was to fall upon his prey and clutch it with his bare hands and choke and tear and kill, but reason still restrained such limit as that. Stone after stone he flung, missing every time. Then the rattlesnake began to drag itself over the sand. Its injury did not retard a swift progress. Adam tried to bound after it, but he was so weak that swift action seemed beyond him. Still he headed off the snake and turned it back. Stones were of no avail. He could not hit with them, and every time he bent over to pick up one, he got so dizzy that he could scarcely rise. Club, got to have a club, he panted hoarsely, and espying one along the edge of the stream, he plunged to secure it. This moment gave the rattlesnake time to get ahead. Wildly, Adam rushed back, brandishing the club. His tall, gaunt form bent forward, grew overbalanced as he moved, and he made a long fall halfway across the stream. He got up and reached the snake in time to prevent it from escaping under some brush. Then he swung the club. It was not easy to hit the snake crawling between the stones, and the club was rotten wood. It broke. With the blunt end, Adam managed to give his victim a blow that retarded its progress. Adam let out a hoarse yell. Something burst in him, a consummation of the instinct to kill, the instinct to survive. There was no difference between them. Hot and mad and weak, he staggered after the crippled snake. The chase had transformed the whole internal order of him. He was starving to death. He smelled the blood of fresh meat. The action infuriated him, and the odor maddened him. Not far indeed was he then from the actual seizing of that deadly serpent in his bare hands, but he tripped and fell again, and in a long forward plunge, it brought him to the sand almost on top of the snake. And here the rattlesnake stopped to coil, scarcely 2 feet from Adam's face. Adam tried to rise on his hands, but his strength had left him, and simultaneously left him the blood madness of that chase to kill and eat. He realized his peril. The rattlesnake would strike him. Adam had one flashing thought of the justice of it, one sight of the strange, cold, deadly jewel eyes, one swift sense of the beauty and magnificent spirit of this reptile of the desert, and then horror possessed him. He froze to his marrow. The icy mace of terror had stunned him, and with it had passed the flashing of his intelligence. He was only a fearful animal fascinated by another, dreading death by instinct. And as he collapsed, sagging forward, the rattlesnake struck him in the face with the stinging blow of a red-hot iron. Then Adam fainted. End of chapter 10.